Hey Hammers fans, before we get started, make sure to drop a like, leave your comment, and subscribe to the channel. That way you won't miss any West Ham news. Once again, West Ham fans, the club is going through deep changes, and that's no surprise to anyone. After the short and disappointing spell of Graham Potter, which lasted only 8 months, the team is now under the command of Nuno Espirito Santo, and as always happens, with him his arrival brings decisions that shake up the entire internal structure of the club. One of the most recent is the departure of Macaulay, the man responsible for the recruitment department. The announcement was short and straight to the point with a very clear message. Macaulay was a personal choice of Potter, not of the West Ham board. That sentence, seemingly simple, carries a lot of weight. The club wanted to make it clear that the project led by Potter has been completely closed, and that includes all the people he brought with him. It's as if West Ham were telling the fans, "We've turned the page. There's a new man in charge now." It's worth remembering that Macaulay arrived in January after the club spent over £1 million to bring him from Chelsea. He had worked with Potter at nearly every club the coach had managed, following the same model, based on data and statistical analysis, to identify new signings. A modern approach, but one that never quite fit with the way West Ham usually does business. While Macaulay relied on algorithms and reports, David Sullivan, the real power figure at the club, has always preferred the old-fashioned way, talking to agents, listening to intermediaries, and reading the situation face to face. It's the traditional way, but it's his way. And it was in that clash of styles that everything fell apart. Macaulay's work didn't last long. He didn't have time to show results and ended up leaving with Potter, closing a chapter that honestly never really began. Interestingly, in the official statement, the club made a point of distancing itself from that appointment. No long explanations, no sugarcoating, just confirmation that Macaulay was leaving and a reminder that he came in with Potter. Nothing more. A cold, almost bureaucratic farewell, but one that sends a message the board wants to leave the recent past behind and give Nuno full freedom to build his own team and run the club his own way. And here's where things get more interesting, because just as Macaulay steps aside, another name begins to surface behind the scenes: Jorge Mendes. The more attentive fans will recognize the name. Mendes is one of the most influential agents in world football and has been close to Nuno Espirito Santo since their Wolverhampton days. Officially, he isn't part of West Ham, but in practice, everyone knows that his influence on transfers is likely to grow. Nuno has always liked working with people he trusts, and Mendes is exactly that: a strategic partner, someone who helps open doors and find opportunities that the club might otherwise never reach. This partnership goes back a long way, and it was one of the reasons why Nuno left Nottingham Forest. There, the club owner brought in a sporting director who worked with another well-known agent, which ended up reducing the influence of Nuno and Mendes in transfer decisions. Now at West Ham, that connection is back stronger than ever, and for many fans, that's good news. Before we carry on, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. This is really important because it strengthens the Claret and Blue family, making our West Ham bigger and stronger every day. The presence of Jorge Mendes alongside Nuno Espirito Santo could mark a new chapter in West Ham's recent history. And let's be honest, the club really needs that. After so many changes, broken promises, and directors coming and going in just a few months, fans hardly know who to trust anymore. But there's a different feeling now. Something that gives the impression the club is trying to find a steadier path. Mendes isn't just a powerful name in football. He's a game changer behind the scenes. A man who opens doors, who has access to players and clubs that West Ham on its own might never reach. That's what happened at Wolverhampton, where he helped build a squad that surprised the whole Premier League. Many said that project was too bold, but it worked for a while, and it earned the club a new level of respect. And that's exactly the kind of bridge Nuno wants to rebuild now. He and Mendes have a long-standing relationship built on trust, partnership, and results. Whenever they've worked together, Nuno has managed to build competitive and disciplined squads, something essential to his style of play. Of course, with the excitement also comes a bit of concern, because where there's Jorge Mendes, there's influence, and that's always a delicate topic in football. Some fans wonder just how much an agent should be involved in a club's decision-making. After all, West Ham has a tradition of independence, and the idea of a businessman with that much power behind the scenes can be unsettling for more traditional supporters. Still, looking at what's happened over the past few years, it's hard not to understand the choice. The club has tried everything: a data-based model with Kyle Macaulay, a technical project with Graham Potter, and even a more traditional approach with directors who preferred to negotiate on instinct. None of them delivered what was expected. Now with Nuno and Mendes, it feels like an attempt to combine the best of both worlds: the experience of a coach who knows the Premier League inside out and the negotiation power of an agent who rules the international market. And the key detail is that this partnership didn't come out of nowhere. When Nuno was interviewed back in September, he made things very clear he would only take the job if he had the freedom to work with people he trusted, and that included Mendes. It was a straightforward condition, no sugarcoating, and the board agreed. With that, West Ham sent out an important message: the manager would truly have control over the next squad moves. And with Macaulay's departure, the path is now wide open for this new structure to take shape. The sharper fans know how much that changes everything. Nuno is a methodical coach who likes to build teams in his own image. He doesn't rely on isolated stars, but on cohesive groups, players who are committed and able to understand his style. His football blends strength, discipline, and intelligence. And if there's good chemistry between him, Mendes, and the board, there's a real chance West Ham could build a solid competitive team, one with identity and purpose. But the old-school fans, those who lived through the Upton Park days, know that promises aren't enough. They want to see attitude, commitment, and a team that honors the claret and blue colors. And maybe that's exactly what Nuno is trying to bring back, the true soul of West Ham. After so many failed attempts, it's only natural that the supporters are skeptical. But if you look closely, there are positive signs. This time the club seems to have learned from its mistakes. Instead of relying on rigid models or directors out of sync with the manager, West Ham is now handing the keys to someone who truly understands the pitch and the dressing room. And that might be the difference between yet another short-lived project and a real fresh start. The older fans can feel it. They know when things make sense, when the pieces start to fit. Maybe the results on the pitch still need to come, but for now there's at least a sense of direction, something the club hasn't shown in quite a long time. Before we carry on, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. This is really important because it strengthens the claret and blue family, making our West Ham bigger and stronger every day. What lies ahead for West Ham is still a mystery, but it's a mystery that sparks hope. After so many comings and goings, managers who promised revolutions and left before completing even a season, the fans are now watching more calmly, but also with greater expectation. There's something different about this early stage under Nuno Espirito Santo. And it's not just the Portuguese accent or his reserved manner. It's the feeling that he arrived knowing exactly what he wants to build. From day one, Nuno made it clear that he intends to bring order to the house. And this time the club seems ready to let him work. With Kyle Macaulay's departure, the clearing out of names linked to the previous regime, and the growing influence of Jorge Mendes, West Ham is showing signs of redefining its entire model. It's not just about changing people, it's about changing the way of thinking. For a long time, the club's signings were made in a fragmented, almost improvised way. There were internal disputes about who decided about who held more power. Now with Nuno and Mendes in sync, the responsibility is much clearer. If things go well, the credit will be theirs. If not, the fans will know exactly who to hold accountable. But there are reasons to believe. Mendes might be controversial and divisive, but no one can deny he has access to opportunities few others do. Young players, hidden gems from alternative markets, names that, with the right backing, can grow and surprise. And that's exactly what West Ham needs. Talent, yes, but also the right mentality. The older fans know that identity isn't built with expensive signings, but with players who understand what it means to wear this shirt. And in that sense, Nuno seems to speak the same language as the stands. He values compact groups, unity, hard work. And that combination, if managed well, could restore the respect many feel the club has lost in recent years. There's a real sense of a fresh start, not one filled with empty promises, but with quiet, steady work. Those who've followed West Ham for decades know the club has never had the same privileges as London's giants. But even so, it's always had something the others don't: soul. And that seems to be slowly returning. The cold tone of the statement about Macaulay shows the club wanted to close that chapter once and for all. But at the same time, it opened the door to something new, something that might actually work if there's patience. Nuno isn't a manager who seeks instant shine. He builds shapes and demands discipline. And that's exactly what West Ham needs right now. For those over 50 who've seen the club rise and fall, this phase is more than just another change of manager. It's a test of faith, because being a West Ham supporter means believing when no one else does, cheering when the scoreboard doesn't help, and holding your head high when the rest of the world doubts you. What everyone hopes for now is that the club stays the course, that decisions follow logic, that off-field politics stop interfering, and that Nuno gets the time he needs to turn what's still just a sketch into something solid. Maybe this is the beginning of a new era. One where West Ham becomes feared, respected, and above all recognized for its identity once again. Because if there's one thing these fans deserve, it's to see a team that mirrors their own story, fight pride and passion. And if Nuno can bring that back, there'll be no need to promise trophies. It'll be enough to give the supporters back what has always kept them loyal, the feeling that West Ham is still West Ham. And that's all for today's West Ham news. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with fellow fans, and of course subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Come on, you Irons!